In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at one theorem in particular, which is called the triangle angle sum theorem. And this is something that you have known for a very long time already. And all it really states is that the sum of your three angles in any triangle all add up to 180 degrees. In other words, this, the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. Let's take a look at a problem that uses this theorem. Okay, so let's take a look at this example. Here I have a triangle, and I have three angle measures, x, y, and z, and they all have the expressions such as 2x minus 9 degrees, 2x plus 4 degrees, and then x degrees, and I'm supposed to solve for x. Now the only thing I know is that the sum of all of these angles should equal 180 degrees. So I can write that out in an equation. So let's go ahead and I'll start with x, and I'm going to state that 2x minus 9 plus 2x plus 4 plus x all equal 180 degrees. And once I have that equation, I can solve this pretty easily. So I see 2x and 2x and then 1x. So 2, 2, and 1 is 5. So that gives me 5x. Negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5, and this equals 180. I'm going to add 5 to both sides here, like so. And I'm going to continue this over here because I'm running out of space. But these 5s are going to cancel. I'm left with 5x equals 180. Oops, sorry about that. 185. And then divide both sides by 5. And that makes x equal to 37. So once I know this, I can go back and determine all the angle measures that I have here. So I'm going to do a check, because I want you guys to do this too when you're doing your homework. Let's check to make sure this is true, because when I plug x into all of these measures, they should give me three angles that add up to 180 degrees. So let's check out angle x first. So that means this would be 2 times 37 minus 9, which happens to be 65 degrees. Angle z is just whatever x is, which is 37 degrees. And then up here for angle y, this is going to be 2 times 37 plus 4, which is going to be 78. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate that in my calculator. I'm going to do 78 plus 65 plus 37. And if I did this correctly, those three measures should add up to 180, and in fact they do. So that's how I know I did my problem correctly. And we have one more theorem to look at in this section. Alright, before we get to the other theorem, we need to know a little bit more about the kind of triangles that we have. And we have 7 different kinds of triangles. And you will be able to know what kind of triangles that you have based on certain information. So in the very first triangle, we are going to look at a particular triangle that has every single angle congruent to each other. And this kind of angle is called equiangular. And it's pretty self-explanatory as to how it got that name. Equa meaning equal, angular meaning angles. That's all there is to that one. The second one that we have is called an acute triangle. And in order for a triangle to be an acute triangle, it means all your angles are acute. Not just one, not two, all of them. The third one that we have is called a right triangle. And that's because if I put up here in my picture a right angle, it just means that I have one right angle. That's all you need. You can't have two right angles in any triangle because then you don't have a third one. The fourth one that we have is an obtuse triangle. And in order for a triangle to be called obtuse, it only has to have one angle that is obtuse, greater than 90 degrees. Just one. The next kind of triangle that we have is if I have all of my sides congruent to each other, which you should be familiar with. This is called equilateral. And the equal part should be self-explanatory, but lateral means side, so all sides equal. And it's not going to be just one or two sides, it has to be all three. So all three sides. Okay. The sixth kind is called something familiar as well. This is isosceles. And you do need to know how to spell this, and I did not write that out very well, so let me try that again. To spell isosceles, you go I-S-O-S-C-E-L-E-S, isosceles. And in order for a triangle to be isosceles, it only means that you can have two sides congruent. So two sides. Now, all equilateral triangles are also considered to be isosceles because an equilateral triangle has two sides equal to each other. I mean, all three of them are, but we know that we've got two of them as well. And that tells you it's also isosceles. And then the last kind that we have is going to be scalene. And a scalene triangle has absolutely no sides congruent to each other. So no sides congruent. So those are all the kinds of triangles that you can have. Now let's take a look at that next theorem that we have in this section. Okay, so this is the triangle exterior angle theorem. And the reason why this picture looks a little funky is because the bottom side of this triangle has been extended. Because what happens is it creates what's called an exterior angle. This red angle is called an exterior angle of a triangle. And triangles have several exterior angles. It just depends on which side you want to extend. Now, for every exterior angle that there are two remote interior angles that go with it. And they're the angles that don't touch or are near that exterior angle at all. So there's a direct relationship between the measure of the exterior angle and the two remote interior angles. And that is that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the sum of the measures of the interior angles. And that is always true. That's not going to be debated. And it's true for every single case. So let's take a look at an example. Okay. So let's take a look at this picture. I have my triangle and then my extended side, and I want to know what the measure of angle 1 is. So what is the measure of angle 1 going to be equal to? Well, according to my triangle exterior angle theorem, I know that this angle is the sum of the two remote interior angles, which are the angles that are farthest from that. So all I have to do here is take 40 and add it to that 30, because those are my two remote interior angles. And I know that the measure of angle 1 is equal to 70 degrees. So let's recap a little bit. These angles here are called remote interior angles. Like so. And this angle over here is called the exterior angle. And this relationship will always be true in these cases. And that concludes this tutorial.